There's a place where the air feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. You step into it and realize you're not alone. The silence isn't empty. It's waiting.
This is where stories begin to blur. The walls seem to whisper, not in words, but in a way that lingers in your bones. It's not just a place. It's a memory, a myth, a secret. The air here is thick with something old. It doesn't just smell, it feels. Like the walls are made of memories and you're walking through them. You can almost hear them, just out of reach. You know, in your gut, that this place isn't just haunted. It's holding something that wasn't meant to be found, and something that's been waiting for you to come back. It all started in the 1980s, when Nintendo was trying to carve out its own identity in a world dominated by more aggressive, action-oriented games. Luigi was introduced not as a hero, but as Mario's shy, nervous cousin, a way to give Mario a sidekick without overcomplicating the narrative. The designers never said it outright, but Luigi's character was shaped by a quiet understanding of what it meant to be different in a world that didn't always welcome you. In the silence between the lines of the game, there was a story being told, one that didn't need words to be understood. Luigi wasn't just a character. He was a whisper in the dark, a quiet presence that carried the weight of something unspoken. There were moments early on when I felt something wasn't quite right. The way Luigi moved, the way he lingered in the shadows, the way he always seemed to be looking over his shoulder. He'd always be the last to leave the game, even when the others were done. He'd stay behind, alone, staring at the screen like he was waiting for something or someone that never came. One day, I found him sitting in the corner of the lab, head in his hands, muttering to himself. He didn't even look up when I approached. It was like he was talking to someone I couldn't see. His voice had changed. It was softer, more hesitant, like he was afraid to speak too loudly, afraid of what might come out if he did. He started avoiding the others. He'd excuse himself from group chats, skip meetings, and disappear for hours. It was like he was trying to escape something he couldn't name. And then there were the moments he'd look at me, and I could see it in his eyes. A pain, a longing, a truth he couldn't bear to say out loud. There's a moment in the game that feels like a whisper of something lost. The moment Luigi vanishes from the screen, leaving behind only silence and the faintest echo of a scream. It's not just a cutscene or a scripted event. It's something that lingers, something that haunts the player with a sense of presence and absence, like a ghost in the machine. The game doesn't tell us what happened to Luigi. It doesn't ask us to look for answers. It simply leaves us with the memory of a scream and the knowledge that he was never meant to be found. In a world where Mario is the hero, Luigi is the shadow. And in that shadow, there is a silence that speaks louder than any scream. That scream is all we have. It's the only thing that connects us to him, and it's the only thing that reminds us that he was never meant to be found. I remember the night he vanished, the air thick with silence. No one spoke of it, but everyone knew. The way his eyes lingered on the boy in the corner, the way he never looked away. A neighbor once told me he never asked for anything, but the boy always brought him coffee. Sometimes they'd sit for hours just looking at the street. No words, just presence. Some say he used to leave small notes on the boy's door, written in a careful, looping script. They never said much, just fragments, stay or wait or I'm here. One of the last people to see him was the boy's mother. She said he came to her door that night, silent, holding a single rose. He placed it in her hands and left without a word. She never saw him again. The boy never spoke of him after that. But sometimes, in the quietest moments, you can still feel his presence. In the way the wind moves through the trees, or in the way the light lingers on a single rose. The first clue came from an old interview, where Luigi's voice was barely audible over the noise of a distant storm. His words were fragmented, but they hinted at something buried beneath the surface. I found a series of notes in a locked drawer, written in a trembling hand. They spoke of a hidden past, of silence and secrecy, and of a life that never quite fit into the world he was meant to live in. I came across a sealed letter addressed to him, postmarked decades ago. It was written in a language he no longer spoke, but the emotions in the words were clear, longing, regret, and a love that never found its voice. There were rumors of a secret life, of a love that never saw the light of day. But the more I uncovered, the more I felt like I was chasing shadows, pieces of a story that had been deliberately left behind. Luigi's silence became a language of its own. It spoke of a love that was never meant to be spoken, of a truth that had been buried beneath years of fear and shame. There's one thing that has never been explained, the reason behind his red cap. It's not just a color, it's a mystery. A symbol that lingers, unspoken, in the silence of every game. It's a detail that's been there since the beginning, yet it's never been questioned. It's like a whisper in the dark, something that should have been said, but wasn't. Maybe it's a hint, a code that we're meant to read. Maybe it's a secret that was never meant to be uncovered, a truth that was hidden in plain sight. And yet, we keep looking. We keep searching for meaning in the silence. Because sometimes, the things we don't understand are the ones that haunt us the most. The red cap is more than a piece of clothing. It's a question without an answer. And maybe that's why it never gets explained. In the quiet corners of Nintendo's mythos, there are whispers of a hidden truth. Luigi, the brooding brother, is more than a figure of fear. He is a shadow of longing, a ghost in the machine of Mario's world. Local legends say that the first time Luigi stood alone, he wasn't just facing a ghost, he was facing a mirror. A mirror that showed a man who had lost his voice, his freedom, and the love he once knew. Some say the rumors began with a single frame in a game. A moment where Luigi's hand brushed against a door, not to open it, but to close it. A silent gesture, a final goodbye. These stories are passed down like heirlooms, not in celebration, but in mourning. They speak of a man who never found his place, who was always second, and who may have never truly loved anyone at all. In the end, the truth may never be known. But in the silence between the frames, in the hush of the night, the legend lives on, not as a joke, but as a whisper of something lost and never found. There are whispers, but no answers. The silence of the Mario universe has left us with more questions than we can ever answer. Even the most dedicated fans have never been able to piece together the truth. It's like trying to find a missing puzzle piece in a world that refuses to show its back. Luigi's story remains a locked room, a place where every detail is carefully curated, but never fully revealed. And so, we are left with the weight of the unknown, the burden of a story that refuses to end, and a character who remains, in many ways, a ghost in the machine. The mystery lingers. It's not just a question, it's a feeling, an ache, a silence that will never be filled. There's a silence in the castle, a stillness that lingers between the echoes of laughter and the cries of the ghostly wind. Luigi is not just a brother. He's a shadow that walks with him, a whisper that lingers when no one is listening. In the quiet, the weight of what we hold becomes clear. Love, loss, longing, all folded into one name and one shadow. Perhaps the real mystery is not who he is, but who he has always been waiting to be. There's a hotel in the hills of Mexico, forgotten by time, where the air feels heavier than the silence. It's called the Hotel Del Monge, and its name is more than just a title. It's a whisper of the past that won't fade. Some say it was a place of refuge, others a place of tragedy, but all agree that something lingers beyond the walls. The hotel stands as a monument to the past, yet it feels like it's still waiting for something or someone to return. The Hotel Del Monge was not built in a day. Its foundation was laid by the hands of those who knew what silence meant and what it cost. The first owner, a man named Mateo Vargas, saw in the land not just a place, but a promise of shelter for those who had nothing left to lose. The workers who built it were not just laborers, they were refugees, soldiers, and the forgotten. They carried their grief and hope with them, and the hotel became their silent witness. When the war came, the hotel became more than a place to stay. It became a refuge for the displaced, a place where the dead were remembered and the living were given a moment of peace. The Hotel Del Monge was never just a building. It was a story carved into stone, a monument to those who passed through and those who were left behind. I first noticed the silence. It wasn't the kind of quiet that comes with an empty hallway, but a hush that pressed against the walls, like the building itself had forgotten how to breathe. The doorknobs were cold, even in the middle of summer. I touched one, and it felt like the metal had been waiting for me to notice it was never warm. There were no footsteps, but I could hear the echo of voices, faint and distant, like they were coming from another time, another place. The elevator moved without being called. I watched it go up, then down, then up again, as if it were waiting for someone I had already lost. I began to see things in the corners of my vision, shadows that didn't belong, shapes that didn't match the walls. It was as if the hotel had eyes, and it was watching me. The night the lights went out, the silence was different. No hum of the air conditioner, no distant laughter, just the weight of the building pressing down on us like a hand. We heard the door slam shut, but no one was there. The sound echoed, and for a moment, it felt like the building itself had exhaled, releasing something it had been holding in. Then came the whispers. Not from anyone we could see, but from the walls, the floorboards, the air itself. A language we didn't understand, but one that made the hairs on our necks stand on end. We tried to leave, but the doors wouldn't open. The locks were jammed, and the walls seemed to close in around us, as if the hotel had become something else, something alive and waiting. And then the lights went out completely. No more whispers, no more sound. Just darkness and the feeling that we were no longer alone in the building. I spoke to a woman who said she saw them, figures in the hallways, just before the power cut out. She described them as tall, silent, and moving with purpose, never stopping to look at her. One man claimed to hear laughter from the elevator, but when he checked, it was empty. He said the sound was too clear, too close, like it was coming from inside his own head. A guest from Paris said the ghosts were not of the past, but of the present. They were here to warn someone, to deliver a message that no one would ever hear. The most chilling account came from a young boy who said the ghosts were not trying to scare him. They were trying to help him find his parents, who had never returned from the night they checked in. These testimonies are not just stories. They are echoes of something real, something that lingers in the silence between the walls of this old hotel. The investigation began with a single, unremarkable room, but what we found there defied reason. We uncovered a set of footprints in the dust of a long-abandoned corridor, leading to a door that had no handle. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay, and the walls were lined with old photographs. People who had never been there, yet their eyes seemed to follow us as we moved. The deeper we went, the more we found evidence of lives that had once existed here, yet had never been documented. We found personal items, letters, and journals that spoke of a presence that was never acknowledged. One of the most unsettling discoveries was a name written in the margins of a journal. Elena, a woman who had never been registered in the hotel's records, yet whose name appeared in the personal items of multiple guests. As the investigation unfolded, we realized that the hotel was not just a place of stay, but a repository for the unseen, a place where the past refused to fade and the present was haunted by what had never been allowed to leave. There is one thing that has never been explained, one detail that lingers like a shadow in the corners of the hotel's history. No one knows why it was left behind. It was found in room 214, the room where the last guest disappeared. The staff never saw it before, and no one has touched it since. No one has ever read it. It's been left untouched, as if waiting for someone to come back and claim it. But no one has ever come back. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Or perhaps it was meant to be found, and the one who left it behind never expected to be forgotten. Some say the Hotel Del Monge isn't just a place, it's a vessel. A place where the past clings to the present, where the living are just visitors, and the dead are the true residents. The local legends speak of whispers in the halls, of doors opening on their own, and of footsteps that don't match the number of guests. They say the hotel is not empty, but full, just not of people. Many believe the hotel is haunted by the souls of those who died in its history, tragic lovers, lost travelers, and those who stayed too long. They say the hotel remembers them, and they never leave. Even now, in the modern world, the Hotel Del Monge remains a place of quiet unease. Locals still avoid it at night, and the few who dare to stay often speak of things they can't explain, things that are not of this world. The truth may never be known, but the hotel has its own stories to tell. And if you listen closely, you might just hear them, echoing through its halls, waiting for the right moment to be heard. Even now, no one knows exactly what happened in that room. The silence of the past lingers, wrapped in the same dust and shadows that have never left. The files were sealed, the truth buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and time. No one wanted to remember, and no one dared to ask. Some say the room is still there, untouched, waiting for the next curious soul to stumble upon it. Others say it was never meant to be found. The hotel stands, but the story remains incomplete. We are left with questions, and the answers, if they ever existed, are lost to the weight of time. The unseen guests still walk these halls, unseen, unheard. And the mystery, like the room itself, remains locked away, waiting for someone to remember to look. Before you go, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments what you'd like us to make. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.